Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. On this episode, we are joined by Sambaza, host and creator of the Sambaza Podcast.
And then now we got him together at this collective. How do you notice that there any change within the past conversations that you've had from the time you saw him at Clubhouse to now?
Not so much. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know that he is really dedicated to the work that he's doing with the organization called Initiate Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like he is just as passionate about that now, because I know but happy to see that he's still, on that path and being that activist and, taking, legislation seriously of how it impacts people in his community, actually going back to help or speak to inmates of how they can make their lives better and improve when they come out. These are people who have to come back into our communities. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident Podcast, a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. Thank you for tuning in. We have Jen and Sambaza here. Sambaza is been our co-host for several months now, and he is a 3-time nominee for the African Diasporan Podcast Awards with the APVA. He is from the Republic of Kenya, and we're happy to have our good brother Sambaza. How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good. And so doing things a little different today, impromptu style, as we like to do sometimes, giving you a recap episode of our last 4 episodes. You may just be tuning in for the first time and may not be familiar, but we encourage you to go back and check out those episodes. We had some great guests these last few weeks, and we just kind of want to revisit that and reflect for a bit on the last 4 guests that we had. Thoughts, Sambaza?
Well, it's been a long week. I'm happy that I just got nominated for the 3rd time for the Diasporan Podcast of the Year, Diasporan Podcast of the Year, and people are still voting. So if you get a chance, go and vote. I have the links up there on my socials. If you go to Sambaza Podcast, you'll find them there. And I can't believe we're in August right now, and we are here doing a lot of things. And I'm so happy that we get to have a chance to recap at least some of the episodes that we've done so far. And it's nice to look at it that way when you look back and see how much you've done so far.
For sure. I went back and checked. So this is our recap since the last recap. So these are exactly the last 4 since the prior recap. And please check that one out too. We really had some really great guests this year. So we're proud of what we came up with. So we encourage you to check that out. And kudos again to Sambaza for his additional nomination for the year. And we are hopeful that he will bring it home. Bring it home.
So we just need people to vote. That's all. So starting off, we're going back to the Juneteenth, episode 166 of the Juneteenth, where we had Dr. Dione Sims, who was we were interviewing, and the premise was to interview her over her grandmother, because her grandmother had already been she'd been talked about all the time. So we wanted to get a perspective of her as she talks about her grandma, and she was courteous to come onto the show, and we had a lovely time with Miss Dione Sims. Can you take, what are the takeaways that you had from that particular episode?
Absolutely. Great episode with Miss Dione Sims, who is the operator of an entrepreneur of the United Unlimited Incorporated, which is a fabulous organization that's all about civil rights and equality and racial justice for all people. And so just reflecting back on the work that they've done in trying to get the Juneteenth Juneteenth passed as a law, which is really interesting to hear, and just talking about that part of our Black history. We kind of started this collaboration talking about Black history, so it was kind of nice to get into Black history mode with that conversation. So,
You know, for me, this was interesting when she was talking about how they go to create a federal holiday. I didn't realize the dollars that were going to be involved. Like if you're going to create it, that means somebody has to be paid for that holiday.
right,
That was the first thing I was like, wait a minute. I thought it was just you know a holiday, but I had to realize that okay, there are federal workers that have to be paid at that particular time, and
right.
adding it means that dollars have to be spent. So to actually make it to be a holiday means a lot because that's something. It's
It
it's
is.
um
Yeah.
it's something worth noting that just being put in there, especially in these times, is really really a hard thing to do, especially economically wise. And then the part where they talked about, well, Miss Dion talked about how they helped the prison system, people who could not get work. They offered work at their farm that they have over in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
And kind of looking at that, it shows that there's some type of community that Unity Unlimited Inc. is doing, with helping people out there who are necessarily gonna come when you come out of the prison system. It's usually hard to start off, and that gives you kind of buffer to get your feet started, and then get something going on and get you into the regular population, the regular world population. That also is one of the things. And my last thing that actually was like the star moment was when Dr. Opal appeared. You
Yeah.
know, we weren't expecting her. I think that was my starstruck moment of the show. I must say.
Yeah, that was a great surprise. You had asked about her being a part of the conversation before, and so we were prepared not to see her. And so to see her was really a great surprise and a great moment to kind of look back on. So I'm glad we have that captured. Really awesome moment. So I encourage you guys to check that out. If you're just tuning in on the replay, we are taking a look back at our last four episodes, and this one being 166, that we talked about Juneteenth and what it took to get Juneteenth made into a federal holiday. And the two ladies that were really at the forefront of this mission, getting Juneteenth passed into a federal holiday, Dion Sims and her grandmother, Dr. Opal Lee. Dr. Opal Lee. So if you don't know that name, we recommend that you look it up and Google her. She has author, great legacy, lots of things that she has done to contribute to civil rights and such. So,
And even they have a children's book out
yeah,
there that they are giving out to kids. You can purchase it, and it's. I think they've done a lot to the society, but as much as you might think that they're well known, they're not.
yeah,
Especially in my community, the African community, some of the people I've asked, uh, they were shocked about about it, and it threw me off because they've lived here for a while. I was talking to somebody who lived here for almost maybe 10, 15 years. But
right.
I guess it's something that we have to teach. I think if we get a chance, we probably have to show up in her spaces and take kids over to Fort Worth, and have them see this icon, who will we we should be grateful for making that particular holiday one that will be there, and a lasting one too. So I think that's one thing that, as a podcaster in my local area in the DFW, I think I'm going to strive for that as an African podcaster, to make sure that you know I play a part to letting people know what that holiday means and how it affects them and who is responsible for it.
Awesome. Definitely.
Yeah. So the next one we were looking at was Jay DeAndre, for the who was talking about the prison system.
Yes,
Um, so this was kind of this. What do you take? You go first. Tell me what was your take on it when you talked about when we talked about the prison system and how the challenges were.
for sure. And so this is episode 167 with Jay DeAndre Hockley, who actually had been on the show in prior seasons twice before. And so I reached out to him, hearing him speak in a clubhouse conversation many moons ago, and just was really, drawn to the things that he was talking about abolition and his activism work and how he kind of just turned it all around after leaving, being incarcerated for over 10 years. And he's such a young person. It was just really kind of a striking story that I just wanted to hear more about. And so, I said, you know what? It's been so long that we've had that prior conversation. We've got Sambaza in the mix. Oh, am I here? There we go. And so I said, let's reach out to him and get, have a conversation about the prison system right now, because, we see so many different views of what it, what we think it's like, and, for someone who's actually been there, and then so much going on in legislation with the prison system. Let's have this conversation now. 2024 is a good time to have this conversation again. So reached out to him. He was, definitely, willing to take part. And I think we had a good conversation with him sharing, making that change, turning your life around, what, and people don't really think about what it all goes into it. And so I definitely feel like these are the type of conversations that, we want to have. So I was happy to do that.
I have a question though for
Yeah.
you. This was the okay. I'm going to take it that this is the third time we're having you're having to encounter with him, because the first time you encountered it with him on Clubhouse, then you encountered with him on your show when you brought him in onto
Well,
your
twice.
the Work by Accident podcast, and then now we got him together at this collective. How do you notice that there any change within the past conversations that you've had from the time you saw him at Clubhouse to now?
You know, um, Not so much. I mean, I
Hmm.
know that he is really dedicated to the work that he's doing with the organization called Initiate Justice.
Hmm.
And it seems like he is just as passionate about that now, because I know we actually had like kind of some date toss ups, but there was something going on legislation wide that he had to actually get involved with for a change of date. So I'm happy to see that he's still, on that path and being that activist, and, being taking, legislation seriously of how it impacts people in his community, actually going back to help, or speak to inmates of how they can make their lives better and improve when they come out. These are people have to come back into our communities, so we really need people like him that would be a good mentor and show a positive examples, because otherwise we'll be running back into people reoffending and things like that. So it was a pleasant to see, or pleasant, or I was pleased to see that he's still on that path and just as passionate about that work and making those changes.
Okay. For my part, I was impressed with how he had, with the system that he had been put in through, right?
Mhm.
And he got in, still maintained his innocence, worked hard, got a degree, now even went to a master's, you
Yeah,
know, and I, I don't know, to me, I consider education being one of the greatest thing that you can have in
for
your
sure.
pocket or in yourself, because someone can take away everything from you, but they cannot take away something. They cannot take away something that's in your mind.
Mhm.
So, with that in mind, even when he was a child going in, he had no idea when he would come out and how he would be at that point. And when he does charity work right now, and I look back at the gains that he has made up to the point where he has a family, that is an impressive thing for somebody out there to have done, because it could have gone south. It could have gone either way. You see people going in, and the system changes them, and they become something else.
Yes.
So for him to be where he's at and do what he's doing, that in itself is a great example of how to overcome the prison system. And even as he is trying to make those changes and make the legislation work, I think he is an inspiration to a lot.
Yeah,
That
for sure.
just because you've gone in there and you're proving your innocence, it doesn't mean that you get around the system and not figure a way out to get yourself resettled, and have hope. One thing is have hope and work the system. There are all these projects that help people get out of prison that we've seen. I think Dallas had the project where a lot of the people we've seen come out of the prison system because they were put in there illegally. And yeah, you just have to make sure you maintain your innocence, keep your head up, and fight for what you believe in. And sooner or later, you will get out and be a member of society. It's not easy, but you will make it.
For sure, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think, do you think the path that he's on? Let's look at the future. He's bound to he's bound to succeed from your end. What do you think?
I'm encouraged and hopeful of that as well. I agree.
Hmm.
Yeah, for
Hmm.
sure. And then, like
Okay.
you said, having a supportive, family based network, friends and family that support you is crucial for your success and when you're coming out of a system like that and trying to basically, restart, you know, push start again. So, and a lot of people have to do that, whether they're kind of pivoting and maybe they're entering a new job field or moving away and starting a whole new, walking away from, a bad relationship. There's a lot of restarts that people have to do in life. And so I think it was good to, just hear this type of narrative that we don't always get to hear, someone's story like that. So,
Right, right, right. And that was really an eye opener for me, because I'd never talked to somebody who's been in that kind of a system. I have experienced it. Have close contact with people, but not to interview them and tell me about
yeah.
the life that's out there. So I think to have him come out and interview, um, and kind of listen to his part and explain it, was really a nice. It was a nice eye opener for
Yeah,
me.
for sure. And I'm
Mhm.
glad that you were here as a black man to, kind of have that conversation. And, it's different when you're, speaking with another brother.
Right.
So, yeah, for sure.
And you see one other thing, when you look at the systems, like, okay, um, and this is, I don't know, coming from my angle. When I'm in Africa, our systems are bad.
Hmm.
They were really bad. Now, when we talk about Kenya, it's one where you were probably having a blanket, and then you had like a thin, it was a thin blanket. You didn't have TV, access to TV or newspapers or anything like that. When you went to jail, you went to the dogs. And then when we looked at, when I was young and I looked at TV and I see the prison system, back in and especially when they see the hip hop days and Snoop, and he's on TV, and they show you the jail system, and then you hear Snoop was rapping from jail, stuff like that. You know, it's a different mindset when you
Hmm.
look at our system. Fortunately, they have managed to the Kenyan government went and worked on it and made some changes. So at least you are humanized when you go into jail. It's not like the way it used to be, where you're treated in a manner likely to, just with human dignity. So they have good clothes, the food is better, they're taught skills. That has always been there. But I think the manner in which they're being treated is better than the way it was before. It's not like the American system though, but
Mm,
so like I said, it was also eye opening for me to have looked at it and say, yeah, okay, um, there's something here that I've learned as a man and as an African brother.
for
You
sure,
see,
for sure.
yeah.
That's good perspective.
So, oh, you have something else
I
to
know.
add on?
Yeah,
Okay. So we're gonna move into the next one, the Kenyan unrest, the Gen Z movement, where we had Angie Nass and Kelvin Kibet. So Angie Nass is from Dallas, Texas. Kelvin is from DC. There, so we have different people who did the protest. Right, I was involved in the one in Dallas with Angie Nass, organized it and did the whole thing. And uh, well, Jen, all I can say is it is a topic on its own right now. We're still going to revisit it. However, what was your take on it when you listened
yeah.
to and when we had that conversation?
So I, definitely went and did a whole lot of homework because I wasn't so versed in what was going on, but I know this definitely hit home for you, as I definitely wanted to, have this conversation. And I was glad that Angie Nass and Mr. Kibert were able to join us and share what was going on. We had two different, coasts represented, and shared. This is, really, and then we also talked about, why should I care if I'm not, from Kenya. I'm just an African American living in the US. Why should I care? And we talked about the answer to that question. So we definitely encourage you to check out this episode where these two activists, one from DC, one from Dallas, and why should you care? And so I uh, was happy to have this conversation because, for one, we need to be, abreast of what's going on in the world. For two, like they shared in the episode, just that human element. People out there are suffering and enduring really horrible, um, experiences, and we all the way here can do something about it. Having these conversations, sending resources, contributing to particular causes, financially. There's just lots of different ways that you can get involved to help and be a good human.
And I did enjoy the fact that you brought about that option of why should we care when
Hmm.
we're in the U.S. Generally, the general population, not if it's out there that doesn't affect you. Yeah, at the point it's humanity. You want to be you want everybody else in this world that we all share the same air to live happily, right? Um, Considering what was going on, it was just a terrible thing that was being experienced. And I think that at that when you look at it at that angle of humanity, it's awesome. People should care about each other. Even if I'm in America, when something happens here, when I'm in Kenya, and even when I was young, I I did realize that world events out there, even though I couldn't help, and that was when I was younger, they still stood out to me that I had to be concerned and be looking at, and asking people questions. We didn't have Google then, probably I would have learned more.
Right.
But it is a way of realizing that we're in a global village. We have to care about it. Now, I'm going to go back to what's really going on with that issue. If you look at it, you only got half a little bit of it. But generally, the after what happened right now, they're re-strategizing.
Okay.
I'll leave this topic for us to speak on for another day, but it's a re-strategize right now. The president seemed to have gotten with the opposition party, and it now formed like you're looking at it's the political class versus the people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it sounds like right now, because essentially, like, let me put it in an American context. There's there's a protest in the US. They say something. Then you get the Democrats and the Republicans who have been talking bad about each other come together and decide, okay, we're going to form a government.
Mm-hmm.
Now, first of all, there's a reason why you're a Republican and Democrat. You don't have the same ideologies. Now, when you get together, who is going to check the other? Who's going to tell the other one you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that? So that's the situation that's come in. Now, it's unfortunate that one of the pillar stone of the movement for democracy, Mr. Raila Odinga, he's involved in it to the point where now his legacy is going to be tarnished regarding this issue. Uh, One thing that we are the the general electorate is saying is that they're trying to get themselves to get identification cards, and they'll push it to whereby come the next general election, which is in about 3 years, it's going to be a monumental change. I've been following the news a lot more, so I kind of have a pulse on what the current affairs are. Another thing is they're going through the legal options, and uh, with that, a lot of the bills that the president put on are being challenged in court, and he's lost pretty much all of them. So there's some hope there, but the whole problem that not the whole problem, the whole agenda of the fact that the political class is being threatened,
Mm-hmm.
and people are now, we are more tribal. We vote on tribal lines. It's changing to where now we're seeing that, hey, no, it's not about which tribe you are from. It's about what you've done. They don't want people to be in there with tarnished images in terms of the corruption, or if you have scandals, that's not going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
So in short, there's going to be a change out of all this, and I'm glad that people have that option to kind of have seen a little bit of it with that particular episode that we had, and that may be a start to people thinking and looking at Kenya as, as somewhere where you can actually visit once everything is. It's still calm, because I had a friend of mine who had some some relatives, not relatives, but their in-laws went to Kenya for the last month,
Mm-hmm.
and they weave themselves through all that. So it's not like it's dire situations just happening in the city. But what I'm trying to say is, when things are good, it'll be much better for you to go and travel and see what Kenya has to offer. We're not all about the protests and everything else. We're much more than that. So that's what my take was on that particular show. Yeah, I had to go on a tangent on it some little bit. It bothers me.
Oh, for sure. And I'm looking forward to, revisiting and having a follow up for so we can, kind of know, like we kind of alluded to, and we'll get more into that with a follow
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. And then last but not least, we had episode 169 where we had Leslie Tucker. And Miss Leslie Tucker was talking about stepping out in faith. Well, so this is where she had she had been working for a while and decided, hey, you know what? It's time for me to get out and experience my world in entrepreneurship. And she stepped out, and everything worked right now, and she seems to be great at what she's doing. What was the unique thing about her entrepreneurship and that episode?
Yes, for sure. And so, a little background, I reached out to Leslie. I came to know her as a fellow reseller on one of the particular platforms that we, excuse me, that we resell on. And so some people, incorporate, shows and, kind of a, different things into their shows. And so she kind of just like does this motivational type of speaking into her shows. And so I just really, she stood out from everyone else, with the positivity and just like hopeful messages. And, oh, if you're going through something, you could make it. Or, maybe, you're having experience and challenges, and just sharing what she has endured, dealing with alopecia and children with special needs and things like that. And just all the things that she's overcome, and just still with a smile, even for the things that she has to go through. And it's just like, wow, it makes you just feel like the thing I'm fretting over, is not really big. So anyway, she stood out. I reached out and we kind of became, friends on the application. And I reached out to her, and she actually is a content creator in
Yeah.
her own right. So she was, definitely into it. And we had a good time with our conversation. So I just, people like that have positive, and I try to be that light too, and have positivity, and and hope that I stand out from the crowd with speaking life into people, and just being a ray of sunshine. I just try to be that. So
Yeah, she was uh, a great talk, I might say, because she pushed the the idea of being a community. Remember when she was talking about how she started her community, slow, little bit here and there. She'd have meetups and go ahead, and when she traveled, she'd meet the people that would listen to her shows, and that's what grew her show. It wasn't all about a whole big advertising deal. No, it was all about the community, the people who listened to her locally and out of town. And she'd meet just one by one and keep growing and growing and growing. And right now she has a great big following.
she does.
Uh, and the diversity at which she has some, she's not doing one thing, she has a couple of things going on,
Hmm.
which to me, it's like you have a different perspective. Especially one, this is one thing I just found out. When you're working, you are assured of a paycheck at the end of the month, right? But when you are doing yourself a solo gig, or like, say for example, if you and I were just podcasting and making money out of the podcast, um, it would be up to us to make sure we have a certain amount of shows at a certain time, and it'll be much harder and easier to maintain ourselves. We choose the time would come in, and it'll be a way of kind of time management. When you want to take a vacation, you go out on a vacation and you have time on your terms, not on the terms of what you had at work when you're being employed. So self-employment has its good and its bad. To me, with that option of having not to know what's coming, is also something about raising your hope. I think when you have to work for something that you do not know is gonna, whatever is coming out like tomorrow or the day after, or like, say for example, if we were having downloads, we did a show and then we're waiting for the downloads and then wait for a check at the end of the month. I think to us, yes, we'll be getting a check at the end of the month through our podcasting streams and what have you, but we'd have to work hard
Hmm.
at that time, and we would know, hey, if I do this amount of streams, I'll be able to get this amount. And when you're comfortable with that amount, you'll be like, oh, okay, cool, we can survive with this and do this, and then you can venture out to do something else like merchandise and stuff like that. The thing is, I'm exploring the part of entrepreneurship, and entrepreneurship is really great, and people should look into that. If you're having side hustles, I know you do have a side hustle that you're working on and doing great at it, and the time management there is there. So I mean, hey, like I say, day one is not like to where you are today. You are doing great with your selling, and um I'm happy to be associated with a great seller like you, a reseller like you. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, try. Yeah, it's a scary thing, but I think it gives hope for people who are really determined and on that path to hear someone that actually, came out on the other side and made it. Like you said, she didn't just jump out, without without a parachute. She did have a plan, and I think it's important to, share that message of having a plan. However long your plan is before you take that leap, whether it's 3 months, 6 months, or maybe you may take a year to plan and, have some coins tucked away, for a rainy day and all of the things that you need. We know a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, and so they can tell you, it's definitely crucial to have that plan, business plan, several X, Y, and Z saved and things like that before you just jump out there. And sometimes, depending on what your uh, niche is and your, area is, it may not be a good time. So, I mean, you really want to do your research and things like that. But just that message of stepping out on faith, following your dreams, doing something that you love, that makes you feel good, getting out of bed. I feel like that's always a good message to share. So I definitely want it for other people in our circles to hear that message. So
Yeah, that was a great spotlight event to spotlight a reseller, podcaster, and somebody who lives by faith of something, everything is going to work, and
right,
that's great for whoever listens to that show. And I I'm hoping people, more and more people, get to watch it and listen to the audio version, because it is one of the great shows.
for sure.
So with that, now we've cleared all the four shows that we have done so far in this month, in this past month. Looking forward to the next few shows. You on vacation? How was your vacation?
It's going pretty well. I
Uh
don't know
huh.
if you've seen my social media. You may have seen some videos.
Right.
Got some more content that I'm doing. I have, fun making the content. So, put a few things out there. And I've actually had an opportunity to weave some of my entrepreneurial side hustleisms. I was like, you know what? Let's do a show. Let's do a show while we're here. That wasn't even part of the plan or anything like that. I just so
Right.
happened, to pack my tripod just in case. I was like, oh, just in case I may want to capture something. And then I just said, you know what? So I've done one show already, and I'm gonna plans to do another. And
Okay.
but yeah, but I've actually just as one of our good podcast friends said, got to take off the cape and just chillax and relax. So yeah, it's a good time.
Okay. Are we? So are you also marketing the to get some more people to come in for conversation as you go around? I know. So I was out last week, and
Okay.
that's why we didn't get a show in.
Yeah.
And actually, it was my birthday week, so I did some traveling. Yeah, thank you, Jen. It was wonderful.
Good.
Nice break, and I didn't get the chance to interact because I was mostly around family, so I didn't get a chance to interact with a lot of people that I would say would be potentials for the show. However, when I was out there, it gave me time to relax and think back at the show and say, okay, this is what we're doing. This is the next thing, and also a breath of fresh air. For some time, sometimes you want to just take that short break and kind of chill for a minute, not podcast. Even though I was still podcasting, I did have to podcast because have to say thank you. I have the Black Jobs thingy on TikTok,
I saw that. To the content.
so it's it was a nice time out, and I hope you're having a nice time out too.
Yeah, and you know what? And there's actually some Black History isms, within. People might think, oh, Barbie, that's white girls and
Yeah.
pink, but the emergence of the Black Barbie is really a Black History moment in itself. There's a film on Netflix about the Black Barbie and that whole piece of the culture. So I encourage people to check that out. We have at a Barbie convention actually, and so Black Barbie is a crucial piece of the culture, in the Barbie culture, and but we celebrate all of it. And so um, doll enthusiasts,
Hmm.
in my family, and we get to you know do a little family bonding with this trip and take in
Hmm.
some of that culture and have fun too. So yeah.
Did you get okay? And you had some really. I didn't know that about you, but you were out there strong with the Barbie, and you had this. Okay, the videos are great. Now, I just wanted to ask of the Barbie convention. Did you get anyone else who was into the Barbies like us, like Black Barbie, who
Yeah.
you could bring to the show and we have a conversation? Because I
So
there's something about it that I, on my part, would want to know or maybe talk about. It's a
okay,
story.
that's a thought. I didn't know if you were interested in that. Okay, that's a thought. I didn't know if you would be interested in that, but I may have. Yeah, but I did reach out to someone about the show that lives in LA, but she's actually in New York right now. So I'm still cooking that one up.
All right,
So
all
I'll
right.
share it with you, but before we share it, but I got a text confirmation, so I'm working on that one.
Your people have to talk to her people, and her people, his people, and their people have to
Well,
talk. And when they
let's
finish talking, then we can get this thing started. That's what's up. Yeah, but the Barbie thing would be nice. I think the
really
Barbie,
okay.
yeah, having to let's talk about the Black Barbie.
Yeah,
How many other kids know about the Black Barbie? You know,
for sure.
how many? I don't. Yeah, that's yeah. We should explore that. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole Black History, just dolls, period. That whole doll test. I mean, we can have a whole show about
Hey,
that.
I'm game for it because I'm
Okay.
learning. Like I said, I'm learning, and if you're if you bring it onto the show and we talk about it, I think at the end of the day, I will be the first person touched, and when I go out and talk about it, somebody else will be able to come back onto the show and be like, okay, what's this about the Black Barbie, and kind of create a conversation out there.
For sure. We'll talk. Oh, you know what? We got comments. Oh, we got one comment.
Yeah, that Forefront Radio said,
Hey, brother
that's
Levi.
Dr. Al Pete was saying hello, and
Okay.
he was in here for a minute and then he stepped out. But
Okay.
thank you for coming on, Dr. Al Pete.
And Levi.
All right. So I think we with that I'll say, guys, please go back and vote, vote, vote,
Oh,
vote.
yes.
Um, we're looking forward. A few things we're looking forward to. That's the Afros and Audio Festival that's coming up.
Mhm.
That is going to be great this time. They've already picked up who the keynote speakers are. Been selected. I need to confirm if it's a solo or part of a panel. So I'll be there, Jen, and I'm also an ambassador too. So hey, I think the next time when you're introducing me, you got a whole. I think you have like 2 minutes to introduce me.
Wait, so
You
you're
have this long resume, but uh, that's going to be interesting to be part of that, being an ambassador and speaker again, because I think I missed it last year, so
okay.
I'm speaking again. um,
That's
that
great.
and I think the Diaspora podcast of the year going on,
Mhm.
and also I don't know about you. Are you going to be getting into any of the shows, nominations, awards anytime soon?
So I have applied for one,
Mm-hmm.
the Dear Sis
Mm-hmm.
Podcast Awards. And then more than likely, since they did extend the Black Podcast Awards, that I need to clean up, and I'm pretty close to finishing that one up. But I think they
Oh,
gave more time on that one. I think.
all right. Nice. I'm sure you'll be nominated. You've done a good job with the podcast.
I hope so.
Shout outs to you. Great work. So we should be seeing you up there too. And yeah, we just have to go out there and do what we do, and we're doing great, right?
For sure. And I was just going to bring it to your attention. The next episode for the 7th is out there that you can bookmark and save and join us. We have a great young lady scheduled to be with us to get into some political conversations. So that'd be great.
Oh, we're into politics now because it's politics season.
It is. So it's a good one.
All right.
All the things going on. Oh, yeah.
That'll be interesting. Hey guys, you want to come listen to this show? Listen, watch this show because it's going to be great next week. I'm pretty sure when it's politics, there's a lot to be talked about. One thing I think we'll when we get to it, we'll talk about it then. And I guess we're done for the day.
We are, and then I will. I just wanted to share briefly. It's all about just being a prepared, voter. Whoever you're voting for, just want you to be prepared and use your voice. That is the message. But thank you, Sambaza, for taking the lead here today. We're on location. And I wasn't sure if this was going to work, so it did. So good to know. And
I'll be excited when we do it international. When I'm on vacation, when I'm doing an international vacation, and we have to do it. That will be the one for the ages.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes.
Hey, it works.
Okay.
There's internet. We should have internet working, and
for sure.
Yeah, it'll be great. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So with that, we'll hit the outro and take care. Thanks. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out. And also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms. And please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening and take care.